lot of folks I've talked to have narrowed their focus of concern to their own families, because so many, and you probably encounter this regularly, so many folks that are our age, and now they have kids that are young adults. They spent all these years forming them in the Catholic faith and sending them off to Catholic places or homeschooling them, Catholic schools, and even Catholic colleges. And then, the story. What's the next line I'm going to say? They stopped practicing their faith. Yeah, they left the church. They got married outside the church. The kid's not baptized, and they're suffering. They're suffering, and they're saying, "What did I do wrong, or what happened?" And now you have this next wave of folks saying, "I don't want this to happen to the rest of my kids." Right. So I don't know what your experience has been like, because your kids span, like my kids are 10 to 23, and I think your kids are a little ahead of mine.
They're a little ahead. Yep. So mine are 16 to 28.
So you're going to help me figure out what happens in the next 5 years. Okay. So how has that worked out for you in terms of your kids and the practice of the faith, and any steps that you took or would recommend to help kids in growing kids not to lose their faith?
So I think it's important to really speak to that. What you just talked about is a very common experience. I hear from people all the time about it. Thus far, we have been blessed that all of our kids are still practicing their faith. That's not to say we've been perfect about it. I know. Not to say it's been easy, not to say there haven't been moments where I was like, oh my gosh, like this one's going off the rails, but so we're very blessed in that way, but I don't take that for granted. And I don't think that's any particular thing where I can be like, oh, look what we accomplished here. Like, look what the Lord is doing in the lives of my children is what, the way I look at it. And but I would say that in some of those rough moments that every parent experiences through teenage or young adult years, that I have kind of come to learn that to kind of take the long view of it. And I'm not there yet, right? So I've got 4 who are married to wonderful, faithful Catholic people. Like, I do not take these blessings for granted. Like, it's a beautiful gift.
I want to know, how did you arrange that? Was it like highly assisted? I mean, was it just a novena? I mean, like, how do you get that to happen?
Well, from the time they were babies, I've prayed for my children's spouses. So anybody out there who's got little kids, pray for your children's future spouses. And then what a gift it was to like meet these people. I'm like, I've been praying for you my whole life. Like, what an amazing thing. But that said, I really want to underscore the importance of a Catholic college education. So a lot of our kids have gone to Ave Maria University. Some have gone to places closer to home. And one daughter in particular commuted to a local state school. So there are different ways of getting your college education if your kids are going to go to college. But I really want to encourage parents to consider a faithful Catholic community college, like not community college. It could be community college, but a faithful Catholic college where there's going to be a community of young people, because honestly, like, these are formative years, and these are the years where your children are likely to meet their future spouse. Shouldn't they be surrounded by faithful practicing Catholics? Isn't that the recipe for what you want for the trajectory for the rest of their lives? So we really have encouraged that first and foremost. But in some of those rougher moments, I've kind of learned to take the longer view and to see, like, when I first ever had teenagers and I was like, what on earth? Like, what this child I've poured my life into is rejecting me in every possible painful way. And yet I now have a little bit more perspective, and I can see, this is something they need to go through sometimes. And really, my husband and I both have tried to foster a sense of openness to their questions, foster a sense of discussion, not to shame them if they're confused or struggling with something with regard to the faith. Just, we want that openness to be part of our family culture. I was blessed to be raised in a family myself of 9 kids, with a similar culture where my parents weren't afraid of questions, because the church isn't afraid of questions. God isn't afraid of questions. We have access to the truth. And I think that ultimately is the greatest gift we can give any of our kids, is that there is a truth and we can know it. Let's find it out together. Let's go on this path together. So that sense of openness to your children's questions and even their doubts, even if you're terrified on the inside, like really, really maintaining that sense of openness to it and encouraging their questions so that they can really come into their own with regard to their faith.